Hey, what's up all you addicts out there? Thanks so much for tuning in to another Addicted Fishing tutorial. Today we're here with guide Eric Swanson, and we're gonna be talking about prawn spinners specifically for spring Chinook, so that's what's coming up right now. All right, dude, so before we get started at kind of showing people what these prawn spinners are and how to fish them, tell everyone out there what you do about your guide service and all that.
Absolutely, guys. So I'm Eric Swanson with Eric Swanson Outdoors. I guide here on the Columbia, the Lower Willamette, basically the whole Northwest Oregon area.
Yeah, so you make a lot of these tutorials for all these addicts out here and stuff, but if any of you addicts out there want to get fishing with Eric, there's links down below. We're gonna have his phone number down below. He can bring you out on the water and give you a little bit more in-depth training.
Absolutely.
Or he can just get you out here and catch some fish.
Sure can, guys.
And you're doing salmon, Chinook, you're doing Chinook, steelhead, walleye. What are all you fishing for?
So salmon, steelhead, sturgeon, walleye, smallmouth bass, things like that, guys. So I don't do just one specific fishery. I do them all, and I'm very versed. So if you guys want to get out and do any sort of fishing, you guys can always look me up, and my number will be in the description below. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about prawn spinner setups. I'm going to run through the tackle and mostly focus on the prawn spinner. So real quick, guys, I like to run the 9 to 10.5 foot rod to the Okuma Low Pro line counter reel. Down to a sliding weight dropper, 24 inches to my flasher, a couple bead chains on each end, down to the prawn spinner. If you guys want to listen to more in-depth detail about this setup, there's a link in the description below, more detailed about this setup. So check that out if you want to learn more details. Alrighty guys, so the first step in our prawn setup rig here is having our two 1/0 mustad hooks tied one on top of each other, just like that. And that'll help when I rig this thing to have this back trailer hook right past the whiskers, so you guys will see that in a second, on 4 feet of 20 to 30 pound mono. And the first step, guys, after the hooks is to have 6 5mm beads. The bead color kind of depends on what color blade you're running. So I'm gonna run a chartreuse blade today, so I'm gonna pair it with chartreuse beads.
So as you're sliding these beads down, is there any time where you would use a bigger bead, or do you typically like to use the smaller beads?
I typically like to use the smaller beads with these smaller blades. The only time you'd want to up your bead size is if you wanted to up your blade size.
Okay.
So I like to run the 3.5 to 4 size blade. If you wanted to run like a 4.5 or 5, maybe dirtier water, things like that, then yes, you'd want to upgrade to maybe a 6 or 8mm bead.
Well, like that, have you seen that new blade from Short Rust, that Tai blade? Have you messed with that one at all?
I have not. No.
So that's where you would basically up the size of your beads.
Absolutely. Bigger blade size, bigger bead size. Kind of just helps everything, flow right in the water. Cool. So that's why we run the 5mm beads or 6mm beads with these 3.5 blades. Helps everything, work properly. So once we have the beads set up here, guys, the next step is to slide our blade down. So next thing, guys, is now that we have our beads on here, we're gonna slide a blade down. So what I like to do, guys, is I run these plastic little clevises here. You snap your blade in. These are the quick change. So if I wanted to change blades out, if one rod was getting bit better than the other rods, I could change blades really quickly and easily. So you just snap your blade right on the clevis like so. Next step, guys, is to slide your spinner blade on your clevis down the line. Just like that. One good thing, guys, to do is, the night before or the week before, when you're sitting around not doing a whole lot, tie a bunch of these up with different blade colors, different bead combos, have them on your leader rolls, and that way when you come out here and go fishing, you snag up, you break something off, you're not sitting around there for 5 minutes retying. So, come into this with 4 or 5 or, more per rod set up, and that way you're not breaking off and then being in timeout while you retie. One thing I really like to do too, guys, is I like to run a small swivel on the end of these, and that helps for a quick change when I want to run colors, different colors, or if I wanted to, switch leader links. All right, guys, so the next step in the proper way to rig a prawn is to have your really good quality prawns. We like these millennials, they work really well. Good quality baits. So when I'm choosing the prawn, depending on water clarity will determine the size of prawn I like to use. So grab one here. I like ones with the long whiskers on there. I think it just looks more natural. So next thing I'll do is I'll kind of just bend the tail out just lightly, just like so. Then I'll take my top 1/0 hook and I'll kind of connect the meat through the head. And it's really important here, guys, that you run that hook just slightly through there. You don't want to break the head casing off because then the bait will look really unnatural. So by running it through there just lightly, you can connect the tail to the head, make it much more durable, and will look much more natural. So after I do that, take the tail just like this, and I'm gonna do a series of half hitches to make this bait super durable. And half hitch just like so. And I like to spread the legs out a little bit, guys, and make that line spread out just a little bit further. Be really gentle, guys, while you're doing this, because you can break the tail off, and that's exactly what you do not want to have happen. Then I like to run one right at the end. And be real careful, guys. Take a second to do this. Don't rush it. Just like so. And you can see that back trailer hook right back there by the whiskers. Super durable. And then slide everything down. Take a look at it. Make sure you like the way it looks. Super tasty. And if for some reason you break the tip of the tail off or you break the head off, redo it. It takes, you know, only a couple minutes, and a good quality bait, guys, is gonna help you guys put more fish in the boat. So the next step, guys, is go put this in the water, catch a fish on it. So now that we're here at the fishing spot, I'm gonna show you guys how to fish your prawn spinner that we just tied up. So first things first, guys, is you wanna choose the right size weight for the conditions in the water that we're fishing. So, you know, when you're in shallower stuff, you don't need to use a ton of lead. I like to use less than 8 ounces for springer fishing. Generally, when running these triangle setups with the prawn spinners, use too much weight, they just don't fish right. You know, I really am a big fan of the lighter the lead as possible. And I'm gonna show you guys right now how everything should look in the water. So always put your bait in first. So we'll go bait, flasher, lead. Drop it all in there, guys. Make sure that it looks right. Just like that. Make sure your stuff didn't get tangled. Make sure your prawn spinner blade is spinning, just like that. And as you can see, guys, that prawn is rotating in the water. I like a little bit of a thump with my prawn spinner. It helps kind of entice those fish. So drop the bait in, flasher, lead. That ensures as you put everything down that it's not gonna be tangled, because you don't wanna fish a tangled bait. That's how you don't catch fish. So drop it all in. As you guys can see again, see how that prawn is kind of whipping around a little bit, just like that. That's what we're looking for, guys, just like that. Make sure that blade is spinning. And that's why we put 5 beads on there, because you want that blade far enough spaced from your prawn to where the blade can still thump properly, not start hitting the prawn's tail. So once you guys have everything in the water, what I always like to do is look at the fish finder. We're in about 15 feet of water. So on our line counters here, guys, this is why it's so important to run counters, is we know right exactly where we're at. So I'll just go down to 15. Just like this, one pull at a time. If you guys start free spooling to the bottom, that's how you'll start getting tangles. And one thing, fish don't bite tangled rods. So one easy pull at a time. Once you get to 15, start lowering your rod tip. A little bit more out until you feel that lead tap off the bottom. You know, about 90% of these fish, guys, are within 2 feet of the bottom. So we always want to make sure and be in the zone that the fish are in. So as you can see, pick my rod tip up, lower it, boom, right on the bottom, just like that. And what we'll do, guys, is we'll clip the handle over. We'll put it in the holder. One thing I like to do, guys, too, is, you know, every day or so, I'll check my drag, just make sure that it didn't get bumped, because these star drags, they can get bumped on things and they can, you know, spin tighter or spin looser. So I always like to check my drag, just make sure that it's what I want to start with when I hook that first fish. Next thing, guys, is since we're using a prawn, what they're going to do is they're going to come up and they're going to chew on it a little bit as they're trying to swallow the prawn. So as soon as you see a bite, don't immediately grab your rod, because guess what you're going to do? You're going to pull the bait out of the fish's mouth before it has a chance to get the hooks in it. So you see your rod's starting to get a bite, really wait until that rod is pinned. Pick it up. If you guys are using good sharp mustad hooks like we do, there's no need to set the hook. pick it up, start reeling, and at that point, if you feel like you need to tighten the drag, do so. But to start with, guys, I like to run a pretty moderate drag, not too tight, not too loose, somewhere kind of in the middle. And then if it's a bigger fish, we'll tighten the drag and chase after it. So that's how you guys properly deploy, rig, fish a prawn spinner.
All right, everyone, so there you have it. That is how you fish and rig these prawn spinners. I highly suggest you try it because, like Eric said, it's kind of a dying art out here. Not a lot of people are doing it as much as they used to. So
definitely
make sure you guys take this technique, go deploy it on your river. Thanks again so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Don't forget, we got links down below if you guys want to check out Eric Swanson or get out fishing with him. We'll see you guys on the river.
Hey, see you guys on the water.